checking out the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH and Parrot Media platform. I'm Bubba O'Neill. As you know, we love speaking to and uncovering amazing sports stories from Southern Ontario, and in particular, the Golden Horseshoe. And as this podcast has proven, there are many people to talk to and admire. Today, we venture to the Ontario Hockey League, and we talk about the team that's making a big impact in our area. Brantford Bulldogs remain at number 3 in the CHL's top 10 national ranking for a second consecutive week. Last weekend at home, Brantford dominated the Peterborough Petes 6-3, but they were edged 4-3 by second-ranked Windsor in a shootout. Up next, a 3-game stretch that includes a visit to Niagara to face their regional rival Ice Dogs before hosting Sudbury on Friday and Ottawa on Sunday at the TD Civic Centre. To talk about the squad from the Bell City, let's chat with the Director of Broadcasting and Communications. He is the voice of the Bulldogs, Mr. Reed Duthie. Good to see you, partner.
Hey, it's always great to talk to you, pal. This is awesome.
It really is. But we know it's also awesome, and I know that you actually are a fan of all sports, everything from wrestling to boxing to hockey, obviously. And you are also the voice of the Hamilton Cardinals here in our part of town, so baseball's sweet to you. And I know you're a bit of a Red Sox, Boston sports guy, too, but you had to really admire what the Blue Jays have done.
Well, the way I look at it is I'm a Red Sox fan, and I'm a fan of anybody who's playing the Yankees. So, first of all, that made it easy for me to jump on board with the Blue Jays for the division series, and to see them win on a bullpen day and kind of crush Aaron Boone, who I still have a grudge against for 2003. I feel pretty good about what the Jays were able to do. But look, John Schneider did an amazing job with this crew, putting the ball in Trey Savage's hands in a huge spot. That was brilliant on his part to understand that where his young pitcher was, that he could handle that role, and then to do it again and put the bullpen in full charge in Game 4 when they had not had the best of series to that point, but they found a way, Bubba, and that's what's key, and that's what you can make a championship team around. You know, I remember my 04 Red Sox and people saying, well, Derek Lowe doesn't exactly match up to Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling and some of the other pitchers they had on that staff. And then Lowe became the first pitcher to ever win the clinching game in every series along the way to a World Series. So sometimes it's those unsung heroes that step up in the big moment. I think you have Savage is one, and you could pick out a whole bunch of guys from the bullpen last night. And what it really helps with, too, is now the Jays have all their options on the table to open up the ALCS, where Detroit and Seattle may have to go through the top of the rotation again. The Jays have everybody available. So this is brilliant what John Schneider was able to pull off, and it gives the Jays as good of a chance as they've had in decades to go to the World Series.
You know, they haven't won anything yet. Let's establish that. And they were pretty sure to tell us all that, hey, they've still got a long way to go. And you were part of a lot of Bulldogs teams that I think fall in the same category. 2 or 3 stars, but a lot of other guys that just know when to step up.
Well, and that's huge, is if you've got those role players, they bring character to the team, and they bring that ability to, in a big moment, take the step forward. I mean, you know, you look back at guys on the 2018 run like a Matt Strome or a Mackenzie Entwistle or an Isaac Nurse who scored massive goals on the way to that championship. In 2022, the team was loaded with guys that just had big moments that could really turn a game around or a series around. Gavin White scoring in overtime in Windsor in the championship series. Jan Mysak with an overtime winner at the Memorial Cup to send us to the final. You know, Mark Duarte and everything that he was able to do along the way there. Noah Van Vliet arriving and playing big roles on the way down and shutting down opposition's top or second line, depending on who he was matched up with on the road. There's so many great stories like that along the way, and the more of those stories that you have along the way, the more likely you are to do something great at the end, because it gets to a point where a team can shut one batter down. They can shut 2 batters down. They can shut 1 line down, 2 lines down. But if you're 9 deep of guys that can contribute, if you're 4 lines deep of guys that can contribute, it's really difficult to stop that from snowballing along the way and really picking up the rest of the group.
You know, let's talk about the Bulldogs. And, you know, before we look at this year's edition, this current edition of the Bulldogs, I want to kind of go back to last year's club. First in the East Division, dust off North Bay, I thought, quite easily in 5. Oshawa losing 6, which I thought was a little bit of a disappointment, seeing that this was a team that was nationally ranked. And I know you would never go there especially at that point during the postseason. But is it really fair to say that if Nick Lardis doesn't suffer injury, that the Bulldogs could be still playing today?
Well, that's a great point, Bubba. And the Bulldogs were up 2-0 in that series with Nick Lardis in the lineup. Now, there is that old saying that the series doesn't really start until you've played in both buildings. So it's impossible to say what would have happened had we gone back to Oshawa with the 2-0 lead with Nick Lardis in. The Bulldogs certainly had something rolling in that series. The offense was on fire, and defensively, I'm not going to say they were able to shut down, but they were able to handle Beckett Seneca and Callum Ritchie and Noah Powell and the big guns for the Oshawa Generals. When they lost Lardis, it was more than just taking a 71-goal scorer out of the lineup, because now you have to disrupt the other lines that were working so well to try to find somebody that could go with Cole Brown and Patrick Thomas and create offense. So it ends up disrupting your entire team when you lose a guy in that spot, not to mention Lardis was over 80 goals on the year when you factor in regular season and playoffs. So you lose the CHL's leading goal scorer, and you have to disrupt the rest of the lineup that was working. That's a really tough spot to be in if you're Jay McKee and the coaching staff. I thought they did a great job in trying to patch it back together. I mean, the Bulldogs were, other than one game in that series, they were really, really close, really, really tight. Just didn't have enough to get over the hump in the end. And we saw Oshawa went on and ran through Barrie and went back to the OHL finals. So you got to look at it in the end that you lost to the team that won the Eastern Conference in the end and, picked up game 1 against London before London remembered they were London and did what they did the rest of the way. But that was a big thing for the Bulldogs to understand what happened in that series, to go through that and come back this year with a team that I think is incredibly deep.
Yeah, well, we look at Lardis, and of course, good luck to him with the Chicago Blackhawks organization. Won't be long before we see him, I think, at that top level, maybe playing right beside one of the better players, one of the top second-year players in the league, maybe real soon. But you guys didn't stand still in the offseason. Front office changes. Spencer Hyman becomes the official GM, but signing Jay McKee to a contract extension, I think that was real important to you, was it not?
I think, without trying to get into too much hyperbole, that was the biggest moment of the offseason for the Bulldogs. Knowing that there was turnover in the front office with Spencer Hyman and Justin Ishmael taking over as general manager and assistant general manager, a new scouting team coming in, some different additions at the top level. And then, of course, the players. I mean, we can talk, a ton about the players that were brought in over the offseason. But to have that security, to have who I think is the best coach in the CHL. I've gotten to know Jay over a number of years. I've gotten to see everything that he's done with the Bulldogs. His run is incredible. The fact that, when he's got a top team, they're at the top of the standings. And when he's got a team that was in a rebuild, he's never missed the playoffs. And he's always given trouble to higher-ranked teams when he's been in those situations in the postseason. So I really admire what Jay's been able to do, and I think having him back, and then the trickle down from that, Vince Lace, Ryan Kuwabara, Owen Brunell, Laura Fortino, all still there as that coaching staff, that's huge. That really makes a big difference. That security, that familiarity, and when you're chasing a championship again, you need those people in your coaching staff to have that connection with the players. And the leadership group of this team, they already had it. It was already built in. So you're already starting ahead of the game. And, there will come a day where Jay McKee will have to be replaced because he's going to the National Hockey League.
For sure.
We're just lucky that it's not right now and that we've still got at least one more season with Jay.
I think look at this roster, as you talked about, and how good this team has a possibility to be. Is it fair to say a lot of it starts with Jake O'Brien?
Absolutely fair. The captain, the youngest captain in Bulldogs history, and you look at everything that he's accomplished since arriving in the league, rookie scoring records with the team. He's chasing down Patrick Thomas's all-time franchise scoring number. There's nothing that young man cannot do with the puck on his stick. The way that he can move through defenders, the way he can make time and space for himself, handle the puck out of the air like we just saw. There's so many things that Jake O'Brien can do that are just special, that are just next level. That's the reason why he was the 8th overall pick by the Seattle Kraken. And as he goes, the Bulldogs have a better chance to go. And he's going to be teamed up with Merrick Van Acker. They've had great chemistry since they've arrived. Who's going to be the third man on that line? That'll be a question of who steps up and who earns that spot as we continue along. But Jake O'Brien is the key, and not just for the offensive numbers, Bubba, but what he does at both ends of the rink. He's an incredible 200-foot player. He kills penalties. He leads by example on the ice. And in that sense, I find him a lot like Logan Morrison was previously, that hop on, boys. I can carry this until we get the legs going. And that's the kind of player that he is. And we're really lucky to have him as a Bulldog.
We talked about Chicago Blackhawk prospects, and maybe joining Nick Lardis one day will be Merrick Van Acker. He looks like a good one.
Well, and he looks like he's actually got a full off-season in this year, too. Last year he was recovering from off-season shoulder surgery, so he started after missing 23 games to open up the season. That had to feel like starting from the back a little bit. He didn't get a full training camp. He didn't get any training camp, really, and he had to kind of catch up as the season was going along. The year before that, I don't want people to forget because of what Nick Lardis did last year. Van Acker, as a second-year player in the league, had 36 goals and 82 points to lead the Bulldogs. This is a high-end talent. That's why he was a first-round pick of the Blackhawks. And you see it in the highlights there. The shot is wicked. The speed off the wing is incredible. And he's got the hockey sense to be able to make all that work and mesh it all together. If there's a bouncing puck for a defenseman in the offensive zone, they can't stand in at the blue line because if you tip it loose, Van Acker's gone the other direction. It's a real problem for the opposition when he's on because you have to account for game-changing speed. And when you're playing with a center like Jake O'Brien who can get him the puck anywhere on the ice, and then you see the release and the shot that Van Acker has, it's a deadly combination. And there's not too many teams that are going to have too much fun handling those two guys and whoever, as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash once talked about, the third man is on that unit.
Van Acker, he's got that release. We always talk about Austin Matthews and the way the puck comes off his stick. It's amazing. Here's a name that I think that obviously fans of the Bulldogs are probably going to get to know real well. Caleb Malhotra. Where's his level going to go to? What's his ceiling?
There is no ceiling on Caleb Malhotra. I've already compared him to Patrice Bergeron, and the offensive abilities may be higher at the same age at 17 than they were for Bergeron. This kid is really special, and it's not a surprise. His dad is Manny Malhotra. His uncle is Steve Nash. This young man was born to be an athlete. And when you look at what Malhotra can do on the rink, a lot like Jake O'Brien, and he's the full, complete 200-foot player. Last year as a 16-year-old in the BCHL with Chilliwack, he took over the BCHL playoffs and was a dominant figure. 9 points in 5 games since arriving, but it's the ways in which he does it, Bubba. It's at shorthanded, he can take the puck up the ice and create. On the power play, he's already on the Bulldogs' #1 unit that's stacked with talent. And at even strength, he's got a partnership with another young shooter in Cooper Dennis that looks real fun. Dennis can fire the puck into the net from anywhere on the rink, and Malhotra has that next level ability to find him. But his hockey sense, his compete level, the character that he brings to the ice, this young man's going to be a first-round pick in June, and I think he's going to be a really high first-round pick. I've already seen his name starting to appear on those first-round mock drafts, and it wasn't there at the beginning of September. I don't think people realized last year in the BCHL how good he is. It's there now, and it's going to keep climbing up the ranks as people see him more and more. I was joking at the rink the other day that I don't think Caleb Malhotra is a secret for us anymore.
I'm excited to watch him play. I really am. He could be way better or more offensively talented than his dad would be. At least that's what it looks like.
But his dad was a heck of a look. Look at the career his dad had, right?
Yes.
Western Conference champion, longtime NHLer. If he can add more of an offensive role than Manny had, he's going to be in the league a long time.
One of the secrets to success last year was bringing in Ryerson Leenders, and he was unbelievable. Let's be honest, just a rock back there. And whenever you brought in David Egeroff, he stepped up and he played well as well. Ryerson on now with the Buffalo Sabres organization. Is David Egeroff ready to be the man, the #1 goaltender for the Brantford Bulldogs?
Well, surprise, Bubba, we got Ryerson back. We got the tandem back together.
Oh!
The top tandem in the Canadian Hockey League has reunited. Ryerson finally was returned from the Buffalo Sabres camp. We got him into action. So they're back together as the tag team. And It's huge. Think back to Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark in that back and forth and how they could absolutely dominate because you never knew which one you were getting. They're two different styles of goaltenders, but they're both excellent at what they do. They both had career numbers last year. Now they're both a year older and a year better in the Ontario Hockey League, and that experience for goaltenders makes a big difference. Goaltenders mature later, and they seem to get better later. Now you're looking at two 2006-born netminders that can both take the net at any moment and give you a win. I love this pair. This is the deepest and we've seen the Bulldogs have had some great goaltenders in the past. This is the deepest they've ever been in goal. Ryerson Leanders, David Egorov, and now Maxim Korovic, who's going to be the third man that'll kind of jump up as the season goes along, and he'll be able to step in if there's any injuries or illnesses or a goaltender needs a night off. This is the deepest the Bulldogs have ever been at that position, and that's why I think they're really primed for success from the crease out.
That's got to be hey, what's the saying about coaches being good and all having a good goaltender? I mean, that's got to be just a wonderful thing to know. And I guess for especially some of the younger defensemen as well, too, that you do have experience at that position.
It's huge to know that you've got a goaltender behind you as a defenseman that can bail you out just in case. Bulldogs have a really strong, really deep defensive core, but they are working some younger guys in. Cam Hankai's got into games. David Buckman, the first-round pick from this year's, got into games. Patrick Babin, second-round pick, almost a first-round pick. He was first pick in the second round, I believe. He's appeared as well. So the Bulldogs have worked, and Vladimir Dravetsky, who nobody is talking about, but I think is going to be a first-round pick in 2026 in the NHL. He's a late December birth date. So he wasn't drafted with 07s last year. He comes up this year because of that December birthday. But these are guys that are still getting used to the Ontario Hockey League, and you've got Ryerson Leanders or David Egorov or Max Korovic behind you. Yeah, that's a real comfort level to have. And we saw it on the weekend. That game against Windsor, Ryerson Leanders was incredible. And if not for Joey Costanzo putting on a show at the other end, Leanders definitely would have had a W in that hockey game. But that's what these two guys give you every night. You've got the third to mix in. If I'm a defenseman, I feel real comfortable. And when you've got Edison Engel, you've got Adam Yedicek, you've got Vladimir Dravetsky, you've got the guys that can get up into the rush, you feel a lot safer taking an offensive chance knowing that I've got a goalie that's got my back. And, well, you've got two or three of them, really.
Well, I'm going to put the pressure on you, Reed. Like, what are the expectations for this season? I mean, obviously this team is a little bit different than last year. The peaks and valleys of last year were very few en route to being a first-place team in the East. But I got to ask you, based on what you're seeing from the rest of the Eastern Conference, where do the Bulldogs slip in?
Well, this team wants to win a championship, and they don't just want the OHL championship. They want a Memorial Cup. They've been to the dance twice, and each time they've gotten a little bit closer and a little bit closer. But I don't think it was a secret when you saw the additions that were made in the offseason. When Spencer Hyman went out and got an overager in Sam McKee, who scored 36 goals in the league last year. When they go and trade to get the second overall import pick, and you get Minnesota draft pick Adam Banach, who's been just unbelievable since arriving to step into this lineup. All of these moves, Edison Engel signs from the States, I could go on and on. All of these moves show that this is a team that wants to win a championship, and they want to get the big one when it's in Kelowna this time around. This is what the goal is. Where do they slot in the East? Right now, from an objective standpoint, you would have to say that through 4 forward lines, 3 defensive pairs, and 2 goaltenders, the Bulldogs are the deepest team in the East. It doesn't make them the best team yet. They've got to earn that on the ice. But on paper, they're the deepest team. And they've got to be considered a favorite in the Eastern Conference and in the OHL overall. On the Western side, Windsor, Kitchener. I know London's off to a bad start, but you know as well as I do that you can never count the nights out. You just never know when they're going to wake up and suddenly they're on a 15-game winning streak. Owen Sound could be dangerous as well. They got one of the best goaltenders in Carter George. We don't see the West enough to really get that sense of it. And the first night that we saw Kitchener, they were missing 8 guys and we were missing 12. So it really wasn't a fair assessment of what either team can do. But this Bulldogs team has got to be considered the favorite in the East right now, and then we'll see from there.
I'll tell you, Reed, I'm excited. You've got me really excited about this team, and I think obviously everyone else should be really excited because I'll be honest with you, this OHL product, and since turning from the AHL Bulldogs to the OHL Bulldogs, it's really been, when you take a look at wins and losses, like there's been very little drop-off. And you think about the amount of players, including the likes of a Steve Staios, who I know you love, watching all of those guys that we knew as Bulldogs do their thing, and now seeing them at the top level, it just, I think it bodes well for the program of what's going on with the Bulldogs over the long run.
Well, and success continues success, right? You see guys and the alumni that the Bulldogs can roll out, whether it's Logan Morrison or Ryan Winterton, who have got NHL games, Robert Thomas, who has been a superstar with the St. Louis Blues, Mason McTavish just got the contract in Anaheim. The list goes on and on of guys that the Bulldogs have sent or are in the process of sending to the next level. When you look at this current team, the run, it's 10 years now, Bubba. This is the 10th year of the OHL for the Bulldogs. And the number of players that have gone on to great success. I mean, Nick Camano's a local boy, an Ancaster boy, that played for the Dallas Stars in their Stanley Cup run when they were stopped just short during the lockout or during the COVID era. There's so many pieces that have come through the Bulldogs organization that have won a Stanley Cup in the NHL, like Robert Thomas, have won Calder Cups like Matt Strome have won championships in Europe. Nick Mattinen is having an incredible career in the European leagues. And to see that continue along, and from a staff level, Steve Staios running the Ottawa Senators, and are we surprised how quickly they're turning into a contender? Not in the least. John Gruden coaching the Toronto Marlies and doing a great job there. He's going to be in the National Hockey League at some point. Won't it be funny one day when two Bulldog coaches are coaching against each other in the NHL, in Gruden and McKee? It's just this constant run of guys that are going to the next level. And as young players see that, as 15 and 16-year-olds see that, and we hear it constantly, players saying they want to be Bulldogs. They want to come and be a part of this organization, a part of this program. And it goes back to the consistency and effort from ownership, whether it's Michael Andlauer and Steve Staios or Zach and Spencer Hyman. This is an incredible group that we've been blessed to work with in Hamilton and then into Brantford that take the players first and foremost. What is going to make the players better? What is going to continue to improve them? To the point where Gary Roberts comes in to run strength and development and be an advisor for this organization. There is no stone unturned to make this a premier organization in developing young talent. And you got to be proud to work with it and to be a part of it, because every year we see more and more players that want to be here that then go on to the next level and do great things. So it's continuing that success-building success.
I think there's two parts to it. And, of course, you've kind of gone through, amazingly, the first part of it. But I think the fun part now for part two of a successful franchise is the fact that we've started this thing in Hamilton, but Brantford, the adopted home, they've really settled in.
Oh, absolutely. The fans of Brantford have been amazing. And the best part of it is still that it's just, 30 minutes up the road. It's not like they moved, off to Cornwall or some far-off place in the province. They stayed local, and that's been a big thing, because fans in Hamilton, we know from the television broadcasts and from the audio network broadcasts how much there still is. I mean, it's a little bit of an unfair thing because obviously they'll have a stake in it, but my parents still watch every game, and they live in the east end of Hamilton. So there's still the love of the Bulldogs in the city of Hamilton, and that's been great to continue that relationship on, but then to continue to build it in Brantford. And you see what's going on in Brantford now. There's a lot of work being done around the city, around the downtown area, a lot of construction going on that's building up the city of Brantford. And you sit back and go, man, we're a part of this. We're a part of helping this municipality build its way forward. It's a really cool feeling to be a part of that and see it grow around the team as the team continues to grow. It's been an amazing ride to this point.
Well, Reed, I continue to use the word excited, and you've got me excited about the team. I'm certainly excited to see that they've really settled in to Brantford. It was great when they were here in Hamilton, but I think they've got a wonderful home with a wonderful fan base, and I know just from being there, that arena is something else when it's going. And I mean, they call it the Madhouse in Madison for a good reason. So I would encourage people to get down. But one last thing, if they can't get down to the rink, how can they watch the games?
Oh, no shortage now. We're on Rogers TV, and that is usually channel 368 or 430 on your cable boxes. You can watch it on Flow online with a subscription. Best part of Flow is you get all of the OHL, you get the AHL, you get the other junior league in Quebec and the Maritimes, and you get hockey from Europe. So the Flow subscription is an incredible one. I have one of those myself. You can also listen to us right on the Bulldogs website under the audio tab. Every game is streamed on audio live and free. So that's been a great one for us. And then Cable 14 in Hamilton still picks up Friday nights. So we've got incredible partners on the media side that are doing great things for us. And that really helps us continue to connect with our fans and continue to build that going forward. And that's where my job gets really fun, being in with the broadcasting communications and continuing to build those relationships and getting as many eyeballs on our product as possible.
So thrilled to be still promoting the team here on what I do here at CHCH, and I know that we're looking forward to another successful year. Reed, thank you so much for joining us. Again, excited! Thanks for joining us.
You know me, I'm always excited, Bob. I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
And my best to your broadcast partners as well, too. You got two of the best in the business, so say hi to those guys as well, too.
You bet I will. Troy and Norm love you, I know, too, and I'll definitely be saying hi to them this weekend for you.
All right. Looking forward to you. Go beat those Niagara Ice Dogs real good.
I'll talk to Jay. We'll see what we can do for you.
All right. Take care, bud. Well, that's your Sportsline Podcast for the day. And if you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. Go Bulldogs! If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast do want to hear from you. Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. If you have something to say, please comment. For the wonderful people that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much, and we'll see you real soon.